so I don't forget. It's like now that I don't teach on Zoom as often, it's like don't forget to record it. Don't forget the things. I'll start in just a sec. All right, you guys. So welcome. Normal props, couple blocks in a blanket is probably ideal. If you have a strap, keep it nearby. You might need it. And we're gonna start in child's pose. So find that when you're ready. Got my space heater with me at all times. Freaking cold. So for today, we're gonna, once you settle in child's pose, I'll talk a little bit. We're gonna focus at least the first part of class on movement and kind of warming up because it's freezing out. And, I think sometimes this time of year, it's not that it's bad. I'm the number one proponent of like, it's winter, grounding practices, like, really settle in, hibernation. But I sometimes think that can also, we can sometimes take that too far, right? So like stagnation land. And with the new year and the cold, I think it's also important to find ways to sort of naturally kind of stoke the fire, heat up, warm up. And so as we sort of move, you can take that at your own pace, and, back off if needed. I'm taking an online training. So you guys just hang in child's pose with Jason Crandall, mostly because I just need some more inspiration. I'm used to training more, and ever since COVID, it sort of has shifted what teachers are offering and my teachers are offering. But anyways, and one of the things we focused on in our practice last week was just transitions, like especially if we're flowing in vinyasa, it's like that's part of the pose. Vinyasa actually means to place in a certain way. So I think we sort of can get a little bit sloppy in our flow practice. And so I want, as we sort of move through it, to focus on, we're not going to actually do these poses. So like, it's not about doing the pose, but more about how to get into the pose. And this will make more sense when we get moving. So I'm a little bit inspired by that. And then once we move around a while, we've only got an hour, and we'll settle in the last little bit of class. So if child's pose, we're just here for a few more moments, but if it's not the most comfortable for you, make it more comfortable. Use your props to your advantage. You can always flip around and lie on your back and hug your knees into your chest. Just find a way to connect to breath, especially when we start to move. Vinyasa is also about movement and breath connected. And so the more focused and aware you can be of your breath now when we're not moving, it's easier to sort of stay connected to breath when we are moving. So just take a few more moments here. Stay in child's pose. Walk your hands away from you and engage your arms. So arms begin to look more like downward facing dog. Really spread your fingers wide. Press the hands down, but lift the underside of the forearm, underside of the upper arm up, and squeeze the arms. And then really push and slide and press mat away from you. Forehead still on the floor if you can. And try to reach those sit bones, those outer hips back and down, and take 2 more breaths here. Next inhale, come up to all fours. Set your hands up at the top of your mat, widen your hands, spread your fingers wide and turn your hands out. We'll get right to it. So when you're ready, tuck your toes and press back downward facing dog. So kind of right into it. So just move around a little bit here in down dog. I like to bend one knee, press the other heel down, and really open the back of the leg, open the back of the calf. Switch sides. Maybe go back to first side again. And second side. And then straighten both legs, just like child's pose. Push the mat away with your belly and breathe. Next exhale, start to slowly walk your hands back towards your feet. So you'll keep your feet hip width, go wider if you need the space in your hamstrings. Spread your toes here at the back of your mat and just fold forward, Uttanasana. We're still trying to warm up a little bit. Let the upper body hang, legs are engaged. Breathe. Take a couple more breaths here. And then slowly look forward and walk back to the top of your mat. Downward facing dog. Really spin your upper arm bones out, but push through the pads of all 10 of your fingers. This time look forward and walk your feet up to your hands. So Uttanasana, but this time at the top of the mat. Same action, spread your toes, legs as straight as you can. You've got blocks nearby if you need to put your hands on something. Fold forward one more time here. Take a few breaths. And then soften the knees. Put your hands on your hips. Stand up slowly. Come all the way upright. Adjust my camera. And then just pause in mountain pose here, standing at the top of your mat. Check in with breath. You have the choice here in mountain pose if you want to bring your big toes together, heel slightly apart, or if you prefer feet hip width. It's fine either way. I vote you pick what feels more steady and sturdy. We'll take these first rounds of our sun salutation A really slow. We're still warming up. So inhale, sweep the arms up, look up and touch your hands. Exhale, fold forward, Uttanasana, back to your forward fold. Put your hands on your shins and then inhale, lift up halfway, engage your back muscles. Exhale, fold forward, bend your knees, plant your hands and step back, right leg first, then left leg, plank pose. So nothing really stokes that abdominal fire like plank pose. So stay here, push the floor away, plug your shoulder blades into their sockets, lift your belly and squeeze your legs. Try to breathe. And then lower your knees from here, shift forward slightly, and then slowly lower all the way down to your belly. Come to the tops of your feet, squeeze shoulder blades together, lift up cobra. Little back bend. We can grow this later. Exhale, lower down, tuck the toes. Back you go to downward facing dog. You can just pass through bent knees and then take a few breaths here. Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Look forward. Lift your heels high, bend your knees, and you can step or hop feet to the hands. Toes together, feet hip width, your choice. Inhale, hands to shins, half lift. Exhale, fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, sweep your arms out, sweep your arms up, look up, touch your hands, and then exhale, bring arms down. Back to Tadasana, mountain pose. Check in with breath. Find stability in the feet and the legs. Let's do that again. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale, fold forward. Hands to shins, inhale, half lift. Exhale, plant your hands, step the left leg back first and the right leg. Plank pose, pause and plank pose. Nice, strong, stable plank pose. Decide if lowering your knees first makes more sense. It's a totally great way to practice. Otherwise, shift forward, lower all the way to your belly once again. Inhale, cobra pose, come to the tops of your feet, up you go. Exhale, lower down, tuck toes, press back again. Adho Mukha Svanasana, down dog. Take a couple of breaths here. Lift your heels high, look forward. Bend your knees, exhale completely, and then just step or hop to the top of your mat. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, Tadasana again. Surya Namaskar A, continue. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, bend your knees, plant your hands, step or hop, little baby hop to plank pose. Strong plank pose. Now you've got the choice to lower the knees, to lower to your belly, or to lower chaturanga. So shift forward, lower halfway or all the way. Inhale, back bend is up dog if you're in chaturanga, or cobra if you went to your belly. Exhale to downward dog. And all of those choices are great. I don't know. I think we do this thing where we think, well, I have to do the harder one. Or we do the thing where we think, well, I'm never going to do the harder one. I would pick the one based on like, how's your alignment going? How's your body feeling today? January 15th, 2024. Probably one of the colder days we'll have this year. Good. Inhale, look forward, bend your knees, step or hop, top of mat. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, arms down, pause. Tadasana, take a couple of breaths. This time, everyone, bring your big toes to touch, heels slightly apart. Bring your arms down by your sides and really engage the arms. That also means like squeeze your triceps to keep your elbows straight. And then on your next inhale, sweep your arms up by your ears. This is Urdhva Hastasana. Really reach up. Exhale, bend your knees and sit. Utkatasana, chair pose, fierce pose. Lift your chest more and squeeze your legs. One more inhale. Exhale, fold forward, straighten your legs. Surya Namaskar B, variations, hands to shins, lift up halfway. Exhale, bend your knees, plant your hands, step or hop, plank pose. Decide if you shift forward, if you want to do halfway chaturanga or all the way. Inhale, upward facing dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take a moment here. Step your feet a little bit closer together. And then do this slower than you're going to want to, more stable, more engaged. Lift your right leg up slowly, three-legged dog. Notice I said lift your leg, not your hip. And then exhale, look forward, step the right foot between your hands. Lower that left knee. We'll just be here for a second. So if you have crabby knees, you could just stay here with hands down. Otherwise, bring your hands up to your right leg, torso up. Inhale, sweep arms up. Exhale, hands down. Lift the back knee, step back, downward facing dog. Step feet closer together. Inhale, lift left leg up, slow three-legged dog. Look forward, bend your knee. Exhale, step left foot. Lower the back knee. Stay here, or hands to thigh, up you come. And then your next inhale, sweep your arms up. Exhale, hands down. Lift your knee, step back, downward facing dog. Take a few breaths here. You sort of come back to home base. Spin those upper arm bones out. Push more into the pads of your fingers so there's a little less weight in your wrists. Look forward, inhale, lift your heels. Bend your knees, exhale, step or hop to the top of your mat. Bring your big toes together. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold forward, Uttanasana. This time, bend your knees, sit low. And on inhale, sweep arms up, Utkatasana. Exhale, stand, Tadasana. Pause. Allow for the breath to settle. And, the hope is like over time, the breath doesn't have to settle that much, that you can kind of keep a steady, calm breath even when you're doing fast movements or challenging movements, but it's going to shift a little, so just let it settle. Big toes stay together. Surya Namaskar B. Let's do it again a little bit quicker this time. Bend your knees, sit low, arms up, Utkatasana. Exhale, fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, half lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, plant the hands, step or hop back, plank pose. Decide, shift forward, lower halfway or all the way. Inhale, cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Go slow, you guys. No floppy legs. Inhale, straight leg lifted up, right leg. Look forward, exhale, step the right foot between your hands. Once again, lower the back knee. Come right up, inhale, sweep arms up. Exhale, touch the floor. Lift your knees, step back, downward facing dog. Super strong left leg. Inhale, left leg lifts. Exhale, step left foot forward. Lower the back knee. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale, touch the floor. Lift your knees, step back, down dog. Stay here and breathe. This is also where the more consistently you practice, you're able to lengthen your breath. Your breath can be longer, fuller, deeper. And then you don't feel quite so rushed in Vinyasa because you're like, oh, I got a whole inhale to do this business and a whole exhale to do that business. Inhale, look forward, lift your heels. Bend your knees, exhale fully, step or hop, top of mat, big toes touch. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Bend your knees, sit low. Inhale, Utkatasana. Come up. And then exhale, stand up, Tadasana. Pause. Once again, settle into breath. Soften tongue, soften jaw, soften face, soften the tops of your shoulders. From Tadasana, big toes together, interlace your hands in front of you and spin your palms away from you. Inhale, sweep your arms up by your ears. Hands are still interlaced and push up. Squeeze your arms in towards your ears. Pull your belly back up and squeeze your legs. One more breath. Good release. Step your feet hip width distance, hands to hips, soften your knees and just fold forward here. And make your way back to downward facing dog. Step feet closer together. Once again, inhale, lift right leg up. That's three-legged dog. Squeeze your buns. Exhale, step right foot between hands. This time, keep your back knee up. Back heel high. Inhale, high lunge, sweep arms up. You gotta squeeze your left glutes here. And then exhale, put your hands down, stay on your fingertips. And walk your fingertips out in front of you. Like mine are only gonna go so far because my arms, are only so long. So my fingertips personally are right off the top of my mat on my floor. And you're on tippy fingers. And then shift forward into that right foot and just like hop your left foot in like an inch or two. Now squeeze your left glutes and lift your left leg up like you're coming into a warrior three, but your fingertips are still on the floor. Now walk your fingertips out further in front of your shoulders. Listen carefully. Just lift your right heel off the floor. Oh boy. Lift your right heel off the floor, lift your belly, and lift your left leg higher. We're not doing handstand. No one in this whole class is doing handstand. We're just looking at this transition. Now, if you can, put your palms down, look between your fingers, and maybe you work on a couple hops. Again, no handstanding, just hopping. And then you can land back in your lunge. We don't care about the pose today. Step back down dog. We care about the transition. Check in with your breath. That will wake you up. You're still a little sleepy. Inhale, lift your left leg up. Exhale, look forward. Step left foot between hands. High lunge. Inhale, sweep arms up. Hands down. Stay on your fingertips. Walk your fingertips in front of you. Pause. Shift forward into your front foot. Hop your back foot in just a little bit. Now, engage the back right leg, like the straightest leg you've ever had. Shift forward towards a warrior three and lift the back leg up. And then you can walk your fingertips further out in front of your shoulders. Pause here. Look forward. Lift your left heel. Hello, calf muscle. And then maybe you can plant your palms down and lift your right leg higher. Shift into your hands and maybe you find some air time with that left foot off the floor. Couple hops, nothing crazy. And then land back in your lunge. Step back downward facing dog. Slow your breath down. And then walk your feet to your hands. Take a couple of breaths, Uttanasana here. In my experience, and I have some, most of the hard poses, like the poses we think of as hard, arm balances, inversions, part of what makes them hard, and I think part of where people struggle, is we don't spend enough time breaking down and talking about how to get into them. Now, I'd like to think I do. Gabe does, One Tree Yoga teachers do, but it's part of it. And so we get so focused on the pose, I think it's fun to just play with, well, how am I going to get into this pose? Soften your knees, hands to hips, come up slowly. You just like let the breath settle. Soften where you can. Let's keep the feet hip width distance, everybody. Inhale, sweep arms up. Exhale, fold forward. And then come fingertips in front of your toe tips. Lift up halfway. And then bend both of your knees and just step your left leg back into a lunge. Good. Lower your back knee. Pat it if you need to, but scoot your right foot to the right so that both hands are inside your right foot. We're just going to stay here for a few moments. So you could put your forearms on blocks. could stay on your hands, but just a few breaths here in this kind of lizard lunge shape, but really work to hug that right knee in. So you've got to, sometimes I have to look at my right foot and see what the hell it's doing. Really try to push the inner edge of your right foot down to prevent that right knee from winging out. Not that that's inherently bad, that's just not what we're after today. Take a couple more breaths here. And then move your blocks if you're using them, come up to your hands and move your right foot back between your hands. Lift your back knee. Remember this again, walk your fingertips forward. You didn't think we were done yet. Shift to your right foot, hop that left foot in a little, and then lift up towards that warrior three shape. Squeeze your back glutes. Walk your fingertips out in front of you more. Lower your palms if you can and lift your right heel. Lift your left leg and maybe one or two little, find some air time. Again, it's not about handstand. Good, come up to your fingertips. Bring your left leg to meet your right foot at the top of your mat. Feet together, bend your knees and sit low into this little squat. Open your knees wide, malasana, torso comes in between your legs. So some of you won't be very low, but others of you might be able to get your forearms to the floor. It's not really a goal. It just depends. How open are your hips? Because you got to open your knees wide enough to get your torso in there. But then you have to lift your belly to puff up your spine, kind of like you were doing plank pose. Just take a few breaths here. And then those of you on your forearms, you're low enough. Those of you that are on your hands, see if you can lower a little bit and try to get, so from the front I'll show, you're trying to get your inner armpit to wrap in front, those arms to wrap in front of your knees. And see how my hands are wide? Just do that. So put your palms down and then squeeze your knees into your outer armpits and just breathe. Good, straighten your legs, fold forward here. Put your hands on your hips. Stand up slowly. Whoo-wee, Tadasana. I'm not as cold anymore. Pause in mountain pose. And let your breath settle. And I think it's worth sort of checking in. It's always worth checking in with sort of how your mental state. And like notice, like I think everybody's different. And some people like, oh yeah, we're doing something harder. Hell yeah. And some people are like, oh, when are we going to be done with this? When can we do pigeon pose? Right? And fine, you can feel however you want. I don't think bad or good inherently, but it's like, notice that. Typically where we get a lot of pushback mentally, that's probably a good place to work in my experience. Side two, inhale, sweep up. Exhale, fold forward. Step your feet hip width distance, fingertips on the floor, half lift, bend your knees, and step your right leg back into a lunge. Good, from lunge, lower that knee, scoot your left foot to the left. So this lizard lunge here, you'll either stay on your hands or utilize your blocks for your forearms. But peek at your left foot here, push in through the inner edge of left foot, big toe ball mound, draw that left knee in. And you can lift your belly here, puff up your back as if you were going to that malasana again that we just did with both feet together. And just breathe, 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 breathe. Take a few more breaths. All right, if you've got blocks, move them. Come up to your hands and scoot your left foot back between your hands. Lift your back knee so you're in this higher lunge and walk your fingertips forward in front of you. Shift weight into the left foot, hop that right foot in, and then here we go. Fourth time's a charm with that warrior three leg. Walk your fingertips further in front of you, palms down, shift forward, and see if you can lift your left heel, lift your right leg. Find some air time, maybe shift into your hands. And then come to your fingertips, step your right foot together with your left foot. Bend your knees, sit in that squat. Open your knees wide, Malasana again. But this time try to go for what we did at the end of the last Malasana. Inner armpit kind of tries to swing in front of your knees. Palms down and way out in front of you. Lift your hips, lift your heels. Again, we're not doing crow, don't care. Shift forward, it's transition, and just come up to your tippy toes and then shift back. Do that 2 more times. Shift forward, tippy toes. Again, you're not lifting your feet. We're transition practicing. Shift back. Do it 1 more time. Shift forward and back. Step back, downward facing dog. Legs might be burning, belly on fire. Take a couple of breaths. See if you can stay with down dog. I get the urge to rest in child's pose and like, do you? But if you're always stopping to rest in child's pose, see what you can shift. Inhale, plank pose. Exhale, belly down. Little cobra. We just did a big forward bend. Little cobra. Barely lift up off the floor. In fact, don't use your hands at all. Lower down. Press back, downward facing dog. Take a breath here, downward facing dog. Shift forward, plank. Once again, lower to your belly. This time, stretch your arms by your sides. Interlace all 10 fingers behind your back. Glue your palms together. Roll your shoulders open and lift up Shalabhasana. Stretch your knuckles back and up. So again, it's not a huge back bend. Lift your legs, lift your arms. Super. Lower down. Put your hands underneath your shoulders. Press back, downward facing dog. Look forward, walk to the top of your mat. Step your feet hip width distance. Bend your knees a lot and step onto the palms of your hands. So your toes come right up to your wrists. You're gonna have to bend your knees a lot, some of you. Palms are facing the ceiling and your feet step right onto the palms of your hands. And then let your head hang. Knees are bent. Bend your elbows a little out to the side and shift forward. Like try to press your toes into your wrist creases. And then any amount you can bend the elbows and start to straighten the legs, do it. But it's not really about straightening the legs. It's about releasing the wrists. Push your toes, like massage the heels of your hands. Couple more breaths. And then step off your wrists. Step back, dog pose. From downward facing dog, look forward and pull your right knee behind your right wrist and kind of swing that shin on an angle to set up for pigeon. So slowing down here. Come onto your forearms, roll to the top of your left leg. And if it's helpful to use your block to support your head, treat this a little more like a yin pose. You're not totally just flopping in. Keep some lift, some engagement, but surrendering a bit. The glutes have to work a lot when you do something like a warrior three or a handstand transition. So to get a little bit of opening here, hopefully will feel nice. If you haven't been able to yet, continue to work to slow your breath down. Last few moments here. And as you start to come up to your hands, we're going to transition to one more hip opener. You'll just sort of aim your right knee right between your two hands. So you kind of close up the knee a bit. And then walk hands forward, pull the left knee behind the right knee, open your feet and sit between your feet, Gomukhasana. So I think most of you know this pose enough to know that if you can't, and most people I think just think like, oh, my knees aren't stacked. Oh, well, it's not that that ends the world, but it's not the pose. So if you can't stack your knees, this is where you should sit on a prop. You'd actually get more knee stack if you sit up higher. So on a blanket, on a block, something like that. So it's fine. I would rather see a bunch of props being used than like, you know, you're not going into the pose because you don't want to sit on a block. Who cares? And then really let that right hip ground. Some of you are going to be best served sitting upright this whole time, a few minutes. But this is a hip pose. So if you decide to go forward, the movement should come from your hips and not from your spine. So you stay upright and you hinge forward from the hips. And if that's not really doable, then stay where you are. So if you just round your back to try to get your head lower, that's not actually going to do anything for your hips. It's just probably just going to make your posture worse over time. Find your breath. Here for a few more moments. And then slowly make your way up. Move your blocks if you were using them, tip forward and just step back to down dog. Really squeeze your legs here. Push the floor away, lift your knees firm, your thighs. And then we'll set up pigeon left side. So pull your left knee forward, shin forward, scoot the right knee back and lower down. Take your time. We'll be here for a bit. Not like 5 minutes yin class bit, but 2 to 3 minutes. So decent amount of time. Check in with breath. Take a few more moments here. And then start to press up to your hands if you're not already there. Aim that left knee more center, and then walk hands forward, pull the right knee behind your left knee. And once you get that, your knees are stacked, you can move your right foot out of the way and try to sit back. Again, sit on the floor, sit on a block, sit on a blanket. And then even me, I can get my butt to the floor, but I almost always have to sort of restack my knees several times before I can really settle in. I'm not trying to force anything, but you sometimes have to nudge. Let that left hip settle. It might take the whole time to let the left hip settle. But if and when you're ready, you can hinge from the hips and fold. Maybe you stay here. This side's a little bit harder for me, so I tend to stay upright a bit. And then if I feel my left sit bone kind of settle to the ground, then I might start to transition forward. Find your breath. A few more moments here. Last few breaths. All right, you guys, take your time to come up, but this time just stretch your legs in front of you and give them a big old squeeze. Have one block with you. Just set it nearby and then come to lie on your backs. Lie on your backs and bend your knees. And just take a moment here with bent knees and just kind of pause and rest and settle. Let your breath settle. And set your feet up and your knees up so that they're about hip width. And then walk your feet back so your heels are under your knees. Bring your arms down. Do a little tail tuck action, and then on your next inhale breath, up you go, bridge pose. You're able, interlace your hands underneath you, tuck your shoulders. Otherwise, you can curl fingers around the mat. Push your feet down, squeeze your glutes, lift your hips. So this is kind of the last sort of surge of effort. Think about moving chest towards chin, hips up higher, push your arms down lower. 2 more breaths. One more breath. Release your arms first, lower your hips second, and pause. You can bring your feet wide, let knees knock in, and just rest your hands on your belly button. Pause. And then grab your block. I'm going to do flat block. You're welcome to do higher if you really want a bigger back bend, but at this point, we're towards the end of class. So just lift your hips up, slide a little block under your pelvis. Again, my goal is not to do bigger back bends at this point in class, but maybe that's your goal. Keep the feet wide is my other vote, and walk your feet a little bit in front of your knees. You've got a couple choices for your arms. You can keep them at your belly, but if you want a little extra chest opening, like I always do the field goal arms out to the side or loose O overhead. Either way, give your shoulders a little tuck, not only toward each other, but away from your ears. You could also choose to move the block down a little and keep your feet wide, straighten your legs. I would only do that if your low back digs it. And then just soften and pause here. So trying to open front of the belly, maybe fronts of hips, chest, really the whole front body. Especially after some of the handstand transition, crow transition work, where there's a shortening of the hip flexors, a shortening of the rectus abdominis belly, which is great, in the chest, which has to happen to do those poses, but it's nice to get a little opening here at the end. Stay with this for just a bit longer. Last few moments here. So if your legs are straight, bend them first. And then everybody can pick your hips up, take the block out, and lower your hips back down to the floor. Pause there. Keep feet wide, knees wide, bring your arms loosely overhead. Just take a few rounds of windshield wipers. Go really slow. Feel free to linger or not. Keep moving with breath. Kind of up to you. If you want to turn windshield wipers into any sort of lying twist, you can. So you just tip your knees one way, leave them there, and then stack that outer knee on top of the inner knee and kind of turn it into a supine twist. Don't have to, but if you do, just take a few breaths on one side and you'll do the other side. Maybe that becomes your little windshield wiper movement. Maybe you just stay with windshield wipers. Just sort of finishing up with some final options, whatever that looks like for you. Once you're over it, don't let me rush you, but come back, feet wide, knees in, hands to belly. Just take a moment. And begin to set yourself up for Shavasana. I'm a big fan of using a blanket to somehow support the backs of the knees, the backs of the thighs. Sometimes it's nice to sort of drape it over the fronts of the hips like a weighted blanket. You don't have to, but you want, the more comfortable you are in Shavasana, I think the easier it is to chill and to be still and to be able to rest. So set yourself up well here. When you arrive, spin your palms to face up. Let your toes flop out. Relax your tongue. Soften your jaw, soften your face. Soft, soft, soft. Corpse pose. And then rest. Just begin to deepen your breath where you are. And as you deepen breath, take your time to slowly bend your knees and roll to one side. And pause when you get to your side. Take a breath or two or three. And then press up slowly and find a comfortable seat when you're ready. And so just sit up nice and tall here. Check in with how your body feels. Check in with your breath. Check in with your mind, heart. And so the hope is that as we sort of get to know ourselves better on the mat, that will translate to our actions and thoughts off the mat. Let's bring hands together at the center of your heart, please. And if you'd like, you can end your practice this morning with a bow. Thank you all so much for coming. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Stay warm. This horrible cold will end, hopefully. When I saw, I think Wednesday, it's like 20, high of 20. I'm like, wahoo, 20. So stay warm and we'll see you guys soon. Have a good day.